haven't had it in me to film a lot of these RC Real Talks uh, lately because I haven't really been in the place to film them. Before we start this uh, and cover some stuff that I wanted to kind of go over in this video, I'm just going to have right off the bat, I'm just going to say that, I'm going to talk about some things, worldly things. We will get to RC stuff in this video. Just watch Jerry's old guy review talking about some stuff that I was going to cover. But before we start that, I'm just going to do a little short bit of moment of silence for some pretty horrific things that's, everybody knows about. It's been going around in the news. We got, we're right after the anniversary of, 9/11. And then, these other horrific events that's been in the evil media lately. Just evil in the world in general. To answer Jerry's that Let It Fly that he put out early, it's just there's one world. It's evilness in the world. That's the only way that you can. And yes, I'm dipping in this video, dipping and spitting. So before we get into this, I'm going to have just a brief moment of silence for the ones that you can pray. If you're watching this video, I'm not a big religious man. We do more and more every day. It grows that I do believe things are unfolding in this evil world that seeing more and more, with the unfortunate events, it's pretty hard to turn a blind eye to see that the evil's getting deeper. And they're getting way more blatant. So we're just going to have a moment of silence for the ones that were lost, for 9/11, the lives that were lost there as well. So I'm not, you can say a prayer in your head or out loud or whatever you want to do, but we're going to have a moment of silence. All right. So, carrying on with our forward here, on the same subject. I don't even know where to start with this. I didn't write any of it down. I just want to say, if you have a family, you have loved ones, especially if you have kids, as evil as this world's gotten and it's getting, make sure you try to if you're a father, you're a man, make damn sure that you're out of everything in your being that you can make sure you keep your family safe in these times. It has just gotten to the point to where you're not safe anywhere. That poor girl on the train, it's just pure evil and disgusting. Just absolute trash. And it just keeps getting worse and worse. I know this is, it's an RC channel, but sometimes worldly things have to be brought. and I'm not trying to capitalize on any of it. You know, a good father, you know, he lost his life this week. Then we had the school incident with the kids. Make sure you're keeping your family safe above all else in these times. And make sure that your family knows that you love them and that you're there for them. Because the world needs more love. There's too much hate. There's too much discontent. There's too much separation. I'm trying to stay calm, and my blood has been boiling for days. I'm trying to hold myself content because the world doesn't need more hate right now. It needs more unity with one another. I've had to actually go through my Facebook, which is primarily mainly just for RC related things. And I've had to remove so many people. So disgusting, the things that I've seen from people. A wolf pack, a pack of hyenas. We're below that. Such trash. The world is just in so much inhumane things right now. I'll check the camera. So with that being said, move on to some things Jerry kind of hit on in his video. Talking about some stuff that I caught glimpses of because I'm about all but done with Facebook. This close to just being all but done with everything, you know, in general. Is just being all but done in general with everything. It's I don't even have words to even put out there for it. You know, I always try to be upfront, honest. I don't hide who I am. You know, I had a comment in one of my videos, you know, so much anger. Yeah, can you not look at the world and not be angry? You know, some people maybe can, some people can't. You know, I had some stuff happen with a few other content creators not very long ago. And you really figure out quickly that a lot of the content creators aren't who you really think they are. WV brought that one of those content creators to my acknowledgement a few days ago. He sent me some screenshots of some things, and I was like, yeah, I know. I that's why I did that in that video, because I had prior with that same content creator. Those bigger channels, they're not what you think they are. A lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them. So I just kind of wanted to do this video, you know, put some things out there. I'm sure a lot of people probably aren't going to watch it anyhow. You know, this isn't a rant video. This is just putting stuff out, talking, you know, RC real talk, and you know, we'll get into the RC stuff now. So the whole thing with Horizon Hobby and Team Associated, Jerry kind of hit on that. You know, I've seen little trickle things, like I said, with the whole social media and Facebook thing, which I haven't been doing a lot of, because there's just so much fake out there that I try not to put too much into at all, especially on Facebook. Instagram gone. Probably Facebook won't be too much longer. Probably don't figure to follow. You I have some real friends. I think maybe over 2,000 followers on Facebook, and I might get maybe 20, 30 people. I know, so I'll be breaking that down and just deleting and removing people. Uh, Social media, those people really aren't your friend. I mean, I've met people that I do have people on there that are actually my friends, but uh, it's time. It's time. I'm going through and cleaning the house. Uh, a figure of speech, I guess, but you get what I'm dropping. You're picking it up. So uh, here at the RC Dungeon, it's just been kind of a somber couple days with the things that have been going on. But with Team Associated and Horizon Hobby, which I'm not a fan of Horizon Hobby, haven't been for a long time. I had problems with them with some warranty stuff in the past. I was never too impressed with Horizon Hobby. Uh, they're one of those giant, you know, corporations that just buy it out. Same way they killed Batera, killed off, they got Axial. I'm not an Axial guy. I've never, back in the old days, Axial, I like their products. I'm not a huge fan of the Axial products, especially most of the current stuff. It's just not for me, coming from more of the scale aspect stuff, anyways. Uh, you know, I'm not saying their products are crap or whatever, but, you know, overpriced for sure, in my opinion, compared to what a lot of the other manufacturers offer for what you're paying for the price. But then they slapped everybody in the face with the raising the prices of the stuff instantly before the tariffs even came into effect. That didn't sit well with me either. I know Jerry had the same view. Him and I kind of conversated back and forth about some of that stuff, and that's where I'm at with them, anyways. But they killed off Viterra basically because I think they just didn't want the competition, you know, between Viterra and they had Axial already, and Axial was kind of the king back then. So they killed a product line that was very good. Viterra, I'm not even afraid to say it was way better than Axial ever was, coming from the old school scene from the hobby, running both of them. And there was room for both brands, but it was all what they wanted to push, and you have that name, so they went with the name, and then the stuff they did with Losi and cheapened the product line on Losi. Uh, Pathetic. Take, Team Associated, which anybody that's been in this hobby for any length of time knows, you know, especially the guys like, we raced back in the day, Team Associated was, D shiznit. And, just, it blows me away. Um, Team Associated came out with that, Jeep Cherokee there a while back, which was kind of a cool little rig. Uh, it's a kit, and I love how people, of course, once again, you go to social media, you go to Facebook, and you read the comments, the stupidity. I don't think anyone's ever happy with anything. Uh, and then you got Horizon Hobby does this to Team Associated where, they do this price drop sale or whatever. And basically, I guess it wasn't commissioned through Team Associated or whatever. And Team Associated puts out this statement. And then they just, well, I wouldn't be surprised to see them try to buy Team Associated just so they can do whatever they want. Because that's the problem with these big corporations here, well, we'll just buy you and then we'll just do what we want anyways. They got the big, I'm really badass American. I'll just do whatever I want. That's the problem you get into with these big corporations. And, Horizon Hobby doesn't get my money anyways, which doesn't matter to them. They're getting plenty of everybody else's money, so they don't have to worry about getting my money. But you know, RPP, Hobby, A Main for me. Uh, A Main has sales. RPP has sales. They've always treated me really, really well, uh, and went above and beyond. But man, what the bloody hell is going on in our RC community lately? The hate begets hate, and it just keeps pouring on. You even have infighting between manufacturers now. I got to move the camera up. Sorry, guys, I had to take a break, and move the camera up because it was hard for me to look down at the camera. I tried to get a scope of the whole table, but I've only got so much room. I haven't even shot a real talk video for so long. The cobwebs are hanging here. I had to clean some of them off just because I haven't discouraged with the channel and all that, and just kind of let it go over here on this corner of the hobby room. There's cobwebs over everything because I haven't been working here. I've been working at the other corner but anyhow, getting back into it. Yeah, I don't watch Exo Cage the other day. He put out a video talking about he was what people thought about the hobby and where it's going and everything, and he seemed to kind of maybe hint around that he thought it was growing. I don't know. I kind of see the hobby maybe as, and I'm not trying to be negative here in any way, but I see the hobby's kind of hurting. Maybe I look at things different, but I've noticed, I was talking to my buddy Randy, Surf Sherps a lot, and he was saying that he's noticed a lot of decline in content in some of the RC channels. A lot of people he knows that were kind of shutting their channels down. And on top of that, I seen just today that UGRC, makes a bunch of the custom LCG chassis for the comp trucks. That he was shutting down the 30th. No longer going to be able to get products from him. He's shutting down. That's disheartening. I had one of his trucks at TRX4. My RC brother has it out the road here. Hopefully he hangs on to that one. I guess it'll become a part of RC nostalgia, like a lot of other things. And I've seen some comments under the UGRC lab. They were saying that I think there was another chassis manufacturer that was shutting down. I don't know if it's an individual, something like him. I know he had a lot of support, so that blows me away, but I'm sure it's probably other circumstances in his life, probably is the reason why he's choosing to do so. I know he said, like the market's flooded, which it is. You can go on like Amazon, these other, cheap companies are making pretty good stuff now, and you can buy it for pretty cheap, which it makes sense. That's another, leads us into the next topic. Money is a huge thing in this hobby. People have to try to get, the most bang for their buck when it comes to about anything, especially now. Just putting groceries and food on your table, and just keeping up with just, life in general. It's real hard for people. That worries me with the hobby. I see, in my opinion, the prices of a lot of this stuff has just gotten way out of hand, in my opinion. There's still affordable options out there that, really nice stuff. The problem that we run into, that I see, now, and I'm not putting blame off on these real big channels and stuff, but they're constantly pushing, buy this, buy that. This is so much better than that. So a lot of times I think they kind of burn that into people's brain to where, well, I've got to buy this now, or I've got to buy that now. I need, well, these tires are the new tires, so I got to spend another 70, $80 here. Will this transmitter come out, and I should, this is way better than this transmitter, and I got to blow $150, $200 on this transmitter, and blah, 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 so on and so forth. Electronics and servos that cost 100, $150, and, everybody's at a different point. And then you have the people in the social media game, and you have these assholes throwing out comments like, well, if you don't have the money to be in the hobby, don't be in the hobby. Well, there needs to be an outlet for everybody so the hobby can be enjoyed as a whole for everybody. That's the problem. And then, especially like some of these events and stuff like that, and then a lot of people get looked down upon because they don't, or they feel like they're being looked down on. Because I've had friends that go to some of these events, and that's why I'm not a big event guy. Guys like us has been in the hobby for a very long time. We know when we put the research in, and we'll look and figure out what works, what doesn't work on a budget. But a lot of people don't. They don't do that, and a lot of people rely on these. Not so much YouTube, I think, anymore. I think a lot of people just rely upon a lot of it, it's going to these Facebook groups. And my buddy Randy and I were he kind of made this comment, just one way of tires. You'll ask in a group, well, you want a really good set of tires. Well, and this is going to be a given, brand name, high dollar stuff. Everybody has a different recommendation. This, that, and you got the guys, well, if you don't buy this, then, this is trash and blah, blah, blah. When it's not true. I mean, I've got tires here. You can't see them. They're the knockoff Tusk that can be had for $20 that punch way above their level, that hang all day. They even work better than my Proline Hyrax. I dare say they're on par up there with the real Tusk. They're real close to that. And tuning them, you can get them even better. But a lot of people, buy that China clone stuff or this knockoff stuff, which I'm not saying that you should buy it. But here's the thing, once again, we revert back into this person might not have the money to buy the Tusk, or they might have 2 or 3 trucks that they can outfit or more with those knockoff tires that work really well. And they're enjoying the hobby just the same. But then if you show up somewhere with those off-brand or knockoffs, then you have these assholes, being assholes. And that's life. People are assholes. I think that's going to be the word of the day or the week. And I'm not being negative. I'm not angry, because I got that comment in my video. Well, I am angry, but like I said, revert back into how can you not be in this world today. But it's the same way with anything with this hobby. Everybody thinks that you have to buy the best of everything. And I have definitely came to realize you do not have to buy the best of everything just to go out and enjoy the freaking hobby. I don't know what happened. I think I do know some of it. Like I said, once again, revert back into you have these big channels. And I'm not placing blame solely on them. But you have these big channels. And they push this. They didn't pay for this shit. They're getting this stuff handed to them for free, hand over fist, because everybody's watching them, and they're getting this stuff for free. They're not paying for it, and they're just salesmen, and they're going to push that tires, servos, motors, anything in the hobby related products in general, anything. They all have their place, but a lot of people, it was like, when the 1080 came out, oh, you gotta have the 1080. You gotta have the 1080. Well, do you really? If you're going out and just having fun with your friends and you're just playing around, you can't make do with a decent working or a good working 1060. You can. Same way now, I can't remember where I was at now, but there was one of the guys had a brush set up in the truck and stuff, and the guys were, kind of making jokes about being poor and having a brush system in it, and I'm like, it's the same way. The downfall when I raced Nitro was the guys just being absolute dicks to each other, especially the racers. They didn't want to help each other out. One guy was real good at tuning. Some of us can figure it out pretty quick, uh, especially ones with mechanical background knowledge. But you had those guys that would literally put up petitions in the pit so you couldn't see what they were doing. And I'm like, what are we, 5? Just don't copy my homework. But if you're not helping build, where I'm going with this, if you're not helping one another to build each other up, the other hobby can't grow. It's the main reason why I started my channel. I do a lot of budget things and try to show people ways of doing budget ideas. That's why I did the budget servos that work good, that'll get you by. Because I know I got flamed on from several people, thinking you have to blow $100 out for a good servo, and you don't. I've got servos I paid $30, $40 for, and I've beat the immortal piss out of, and they've held up. My Red Cat Ascent's still on the stock steering servo. It's getting old and slow now, but it's had miles and miles and miles and miles of hard trail use. It's, where did we get to the point that we're constantly tearing each other down? Once again, going back to, Exo Cage, I used to watch him a lot. I still watch him. But, and he seems like a good dude. He's the sort of dude I'd sit down and drink a beer with. If he drinks beer. Maybe coffee. But that's why I love the small guys. So that's why I like the small guys. Excuse me, old guy review. I've been watching more of Easy Boy RC. I talked to him a couple messages a while back. We were talking about things slowing down. I think YouTube is slowing down. I don't think we're losing people in the hobby. You don't have to agree with it, but I can definitely see it. A lot of people I see just in this general area. Man, I'm seeing stuff for sale like you've never seen, because people they think they can't afford it. Once again, we get back into that. You got to buy the latest, greatest. And you don't always have to buy the latest, greatest. I buy cheap LiPo batteries. They've been fine as long as you pay attention to them, balance, charge them, take care of them like you should be taking care of them, monitor them, check your cells, You don't have to go out and buy Gens Ace and Max Amps and all these high dollar batteries that a lot of these big YouTubers get sent to them to do reviews on. That's great if you can go out and afford to buy them. I could afford to buy them. My wife always hounds me about I always got to buy the best of everything. She really knew I don't buy the best of everything. Well, I buy the best of everything of scale trucks. RC four-wheel drive, baby. That's right. Even if they don't support me, I support them. So, after having my hands on a boom truck, wasn't that impressed. But that's besides the point. I'll stay with RC four-wheel drive. But, yeah, that's a big problem. You know, there's a lot of quality budget options out there. And there are channels that cover those budget options, but they don't get the promotions. They don't get their due. For instance, mine's IRC. RCCOM. You know, he does a lot of the AliExpress stuff. Mine's IRC. You know, he's doing a bunch of the 118 stuff. Not my bag, but I watch his content. He's a cool guy. So, yeah, there's channels out there. They don't get pushed. Dub V, he did a bunch on that CR the 18. It's the 18 scale. It's more of a comp. I can't comment on any of his videos. I don't know why. Same way with Earl. Earl, buddy, I can't comment on your videos either. Stay small. Some videos I can comment on. He does. He's another one, man. He makes some cool stuff. He makes good content. It's really strange to me that the people go out and make, you know, just cool driving videos and content like that doesn't get promoted. I have this conversation with Randy, Sir Chirps a lot. He's got a YouTube channel, and also if anybody's looking for FMS stuff, that guy does amazing metal fab work for like the Michigan and the Toyota FMS, like the bigger scale, the wheelies. He does roll cages, bumpers. If I'll find a link and I'll put a link down in the description. He sent it to me a while back, and I've been meaning to get on a video. He made me shock towers for my Michigan. The video is up on here. He was working on making me a front bumper for my Michigan. Something you can really pound into stuff without getting broken. You know, he's a scale guy. Probably the best Michigan build that I've seen. Performance and scale wise. He balances both worlds really well. Doesn't do a lot of how-to videos on his channel, but he covers stuff. But, you know, a lot of these flashy, look what they sent me. You know, I can't do it because it's just all the same. They almost seem like cookie cutter. It's just the same old, loud, pushy, abrasive. But that's just how I am in life in general. You know, I would rather sit back and watch Toe Shifter, mine's IRC, Jerry's old guy review because we're both grouchy old guys. I watch WV. Now I can't comment on your videos. Earl's RC. He has a YouTube channel. They've got those two die-cast custom built crawlers from their buddy built. Did a wonderful job on those. But yeah, there's a lot of smaller channels when people dive down and investigate. You know, that have information out there that doesn't really get a whole lot. Same way when I was building my scale garage, I investigated a lot of channels, man, and I found some really cool stuff. And I'm looking and I'm like, this video is like 3 or 4 years old and it's had like 1,000 views. And this guy built like a completely custom homemade scale garage with like cheap stuff. And I'm like, bro, how can people? It baffles me. It blows my mind a little bit. Uh, maybe maybe it's the titles and the wording. And according to Randy, he says they put it out to like a test group, and then if it doesn't do well, and boy, those test groups aren't worth a shit if that's the case. YouTube, man, uh, I can see a lot of content creators have started to, leave because a lot of it is work going out and creating content. I go out and just have fun. I'm having fun when I'm doing mine, and the scale trucks. I love being able to watch my friends and I. My RC brother Chris, my RC brother D. We go out with the scale trucks. I love watching our trucks. Driving. That's why I do them because I've got a real passion for the scale side of the hobby. That's where the love is for me. And I got away from that trying to kind of get the channel to grow a little bit because I got a lot of hate when I started doing the scale stuff, especially the RC four-wheel drive. So where I was going with this, I got a lot of flamed on. That's why I left most of the groups. I can still look in from the outside and see things. That's how I kind of like it, because I can learn without interacting or being seen. But it just blows me away. At a lot of I got flamed on pretty hard on a lot of that stuff, and I learned real quick. You don't share some of that stuff in those groups and stuff because I don't deal with that very well because I'm an old school type guy, and that loudmouth shit just doesn't go with me. Uh, Maybe I do have anger management problems. When I'm drinking, it's worse. But yeah, I don't. So I just mainly stick to myself and just learn and soak up the knowledge because knowledge is power. And you can help other people that way. And I've tried to help other people. There's been people I've messaged and tried to help. There's some people I helped that I wish I wouldn't have helped. It just really it blows me away at the amount of good information out there, especially on YouTube. And YouTube, unless you're one of those loud, obnoxious, hey, look at me, fancy, catchy, flashy channels that, like I said, I feel like are a dime a dozen, they don't get any kind of play. I mean, they do. But then I have noticed, man, there's a lot of negativity around those big channels when you start going in and you start looking at the comments. So is it worth it? Probably not. I'm pretty happy with mostly for mine. I've dealt with some shit. I started these RC Real Talks, because I like Jerry and him and I kind of talked a little bit. And I like his style. Two grumpy old guys here. Old school guys that's been around the way for a while. And, sometimes we get set in our way. People take offense real easy anymore in this day and age. Because I just say things off the cuff. This is how I am in real life. You know, sometimes it comes off as abrasive, and it just does. It's just how life goes. Uh, I never mean anything bad by it, but you know, people they get offended. Uh, that's sometimes you're gonna get offended. You're not always gonna agree with somebody, but yeah. So, anyways, it kind of baffles me why these you know, I guess it's how the YouTube algorithm works. I've been working with my daughter. She's got a YouTube channel. So I've been helping her do that and some filming, and she's using my editor because I was going to shut everything down. She enjoys making her little shorts and stuff and little videos that for her kids' channel. So I kept the editor, and I figured, well, I'm keeping the editor. I'm paying for it. I'll keep doing the videos. Plus, doing the driving videos, having an editor, Jerry, it does help. But I still haven't figured much out, evidently. Uh, Another channel that I watch, I know he watches sometimes. It's RC Underdog. I've seen that guy give away RCs and stuff, especially the kids. Guy does a lot of the smaller guys are doing a lot more for the community now than what these bigger channels, man, where it's just putting money in their pocket, which I get it. When I started my channel, that was never what I gave two shits about. It's nice to have a little bit here and there to try to help your hobby. But the ones that have made it a job, that's where I see a problem. And this is probably an opinion that's going to get me some hate. But, damn, I wouldn't want to rely on making a hobby my job. Because, man, then is it a hobby? Man. It just, that blows me away. It makes me question, is social media even really worth it? Because, man, even if I was getting thousands and thousands and thousands of views on videos, wow, then you're pushed. I constantly let me check our time. So I constantly get that pushiness from YouTube anyways about, if you're a monetized channel, you got to be real careful. Products. I even got hit on for a license plate, in the background of a video. And you got to be careful what you're putting on camera. Music. It'll get you in trouble. Because I had people hating on some of the music and stuff that I was putting in backgrounds and videos. You gotta be more careful when you're monetized. A lot of people don't take that into account, and a lot of them haven't been in the social media YouTube game and haven't really investigated that far. I didn't. I just went with it. I went with the flow, tried to create cool stuff. Gotta be real careful. Another one I've been watching a lot more lately is Jay Myers. I love his his 1/18 scale. Once again, I'm not a small guy, but his TRX4M Ford is pretty sweet with trailer and dirt bikes. He's got some cool videos. I watched some of him. Another channel. It's weird. And I've noticed another weird thing. Lots of views. Low subscribers. Lots of subscribers. Low views. It's odd. You think it would be the opposite. It's really odd. I quit going in and checking analytics because I just don't give a shit about it anymore. I know Woods, He's a friend I talked to. Woods Unknown, his YouTube channel. He's got some cool stuff on there he did with his wife and his bees and his property and stuff. Cool look at it. Thanks for sharing that video and insight to the stuff that you do, brother. That was a good video. Uh, when I was looking at getting an SCX6, his videos were some of the first ones I went and looked at. Not these channels that are Flash and Shazam. And this is the greatest thing in the world. I'd much rather watch somebody that's actually taking a product out and using it. That's just me. Because that's, if you're going to use it, I want to see it in use. Not just some loudmouth screaming at the camera how great it is. That got me in a lot of trouble early on with the Red Cat Ascent. I took some pretty bad flaming on that because I liked it. You know, I still stand behind that Red Cat Ascent. I've had a lot of, like I said, I got out of doing a lot of the scale trucks because I know the views would have been a lot better on the performance stuff. I did comp stuff when a lot of guys are still shitting in their diapers that are doing the comp stuff now. The comp stuff gets boring real quick to me. I'd much rather take a scale truck out and try to do stupid stuff with it than to take the comp stuff out. I know the comp stuff's a big thing right now. I enjoy it. I enjoy all aspects of it. But yeah, that stuff really wasn't for me. Too stressful. Just trying to constantly be the best of the best, you know. It's why I got out of racing. And then you're just, once again, when you get into that and you're blowing all the high-end dollars for the inserts for the tires, and you're having to buy the latest and the greatest and the bestest of the bestest of the LCG chassis, and this company come out with this LCG chassis. So that's when you're talking about you're blowing out more money. Eventually, for me, that turns out not to be the fun part of the hobby, especially when you got 2 kids and a wife and mortgage and all that stuff. I work hard, I make decent money, and I got a great job that I'm super appreciative, and I thank the Lord every day. But that's where it gets a lot of guys in trouble in this hobby. It, once again, revert back into the money spent. You know, I don't think the hobby was necessarily ever created for that. That's just my opinion. You know, it's a good outlet for, you got a stressful life, you got bills, you've got worry about what my kid's going to do on this test, and I got to get my kid doing better here, or I've got to get, you know, this paid, or this is broke and this needs replaced. And I want to use the hobby for an outlet to where I don't have to think about that stuff. I'm out with my friends, I'm out enjoying the hobby, we're having a good time, we're laughing, we're joking, we're giving each other sometimes a hard time. That is joy and peace. And like my buddy, my RC brother Chris and I say, therapy, because it kind of is. For that little short period of time, you're not thinking about work, you're not really thinking about bills, you're just out in nature. That's why I love the crawlers. You're just out enjoying the hobby, shooting the shit, talking about this, talking about that, what I can do to this to make this better, watching how this works and figure out how to modify this to maybe make it better. That is one of the most beautiful things about this hobby. And you're out in nature, and you're enjoying nature, God's country. It's wild, beautiful West Virginia. That's one of the greatest things about, especially, like I said, the crawler side of the hobby. Bashers, I don't know what y'all are doing. Snorting a line of cocaine and slamming a 30-pack of beer and sending those trucks off ramps 300 feet into the air if you can. But that's not my dig anymore. I'm too old. I love the fifth scale 2-strokers, but once again, overpriced. Too expensive part of the hobby for me. Too many broken bones, bad back. Couldn't enjoy it anymore. Was in pain after going out and having fun with the hobby, you know, going out and running at wherever I had to travel to run my stuff. So that's why I switched over back into the crawlers, because I've always liked crawlers anyways. But we're getting off topic. But where I was saying with Horizon Hobby and what their team associated, I haven't seen any updates. Yes, Jerry, I haven't seen any updates on that either. I thought that was a pretty that was a low blow, a little bit really, but and then these people that get on Facebook. I was reading through. You were talking about that new. Like I said, I'm not really interested in Axial either way, but they come out with that new. They copied the Charisma, the Coyote, copied the name, and come out with that new comp whatever 10.3. How many variations do they have of the 10.3 now? I guess it's somewhat new. I don't know. I watched a little bit of content about it here and there, and the two guys doing the, it's got the Trepadors on it, and I was never a fan of the Trepador tires. Here they didn't work very well. I think it's got the Proline Coyote, which is like a older model Ford Ranger body. And they call it, I think it was Proline called it the Coyote. I'm not sure if they had license from Ford or what. I'm not sure what all the deal was with that, but it's basically an axial stance. That's what it looks like to me. A lot more affordable. Here at the local hobby shop, I think like a Fusion, Red Cat Fusion, which in my opinion, that's the first thing I would pick up, because it comes brushless already. I think it's like $399 here still. The prices might have went up. They were $399, $429 at the most. I think that new one's coming in from Axial. I think it's cheaper than the Vanquish stance. Drove a Vanquish stance. Alright truck. I'm not a Vanquish guy either. My VS4 felt kind of cheap to me. Just did to me. I do like the optic, but I like buggies. So, hence the Wraiths and stuff was my favorite truck Axial ever made. I had the original OG SCX10s and a couple 10.2s. I wasn't a big 10.2 guy. Okay trucks. Mine didn't come with any of the metal links or anything. They had them boogery soft plastic stuff on it, so all that needed upgraded right out of the box by Axials already. I'm pretty sure they don't do anything like that anymore. I think pretty much all their stuff comes about like everybody else. But, bang for the buck, I would say probably that new Axial looks pretty good. It looks like a 10.3 with some plastic copied Rock Pirate shock towers to lean the shocks in. Performance truck, I wouldn't have thought you'd have seen a Panhard bar and a 3-link. I'd have thought you'd have seen an SOA performance-wise. Same way with the Ascent, though. I think when they built that Fusion, they should have done an SOA with it. Since we're talking performance anyhow. But that's neither here nor there on that. So I still stand behind. I think that Ascent's a hell of a truck for what it is. For what you're getting a pretty good truck for what you're paying, especially with the Fusion. But you can't compare an RTR performance truck out of the box to something that's custom built that another channel seems to do a lot of. I won't mention any names. I spun the little rotisserie here, if you get the meaning. But because that was one of the ones I kind of got some flame and hate on from. But is what it is. Love his tire test videos though, either way. Just not the smartest man in the room attitude, because you're never always going to be the smartest person in the room. First thing you need to learn in life is to be a little bit humble. But anyways, yeah, I know this video is long. We haven't done an RC Real Talk for a while. So I thought we'd just shoot the shit here. Well, shoot the shit with the camera. And if people watch, they watch. But, Jerry alluded to like a lot of these off-brand companies, if you can consider them off-brand now. You got RGT and stuff. All these companies are making pretty good products now. I've really been eyeballing a team associated, the Night Runner. I've been wanting one for a while, to have a Lexan scale truck. But that little RGT Bronco is still calling to me pretty hardcore. I'm a lot into the scale stuff, so neither one of them, really becking hard, but they beckon hard enough, if you know what I mean. But I found a line on another one of those Bruiser Rupture complete chassis that I found online for sale that the guy's offering a pretty good deal on, and it's pretty hard for me to turn it down because I like the nostalgic stuff like that from the old scale Builders Guild type days. You know, I like the old stuff and turn it in like the Bruiser platforms and the stuff that works really well scale wise. But that's how builders are different. Uh, it's weird for me because I don't like kids, and I know that pisses people off. Uh, Never been a kit guy. Part time in a hobby shop, putting kits together. We put kits together hand over fist for them to sell as an RTR in the hobby shop. Was never super impressed with kits, just me. Uh, they get old hat real quick. I want something to go out, run it, see what needs improved, and go from there. Or if I'm going to put a kit together, I'm just going to start with the chassis and start building because I've been in the hobby long enough that that's the best way. Once you got that experience, you're kind of better to just build it all out yourself. Uh, that's just, everybody's at a different point in the hobby. But it kills me to see the hate that you get thrown around and people trash on other people. And that's what makes me so standoffish anymore. Like all the way around. Uh, you're especially when you start talking to these big popular YouTube channels, man. I made the mistake and commented in a few of them, and wow, man, people will defend them people like they are on a pedestal, like they are the champions of the world. I don't understand that. We're all in the same hobby. We all should be building one another up. I'll say it again, and I'll say it louder for the people in the back because I never seem to hear. And we want to see the hobby keep going. We got to stop that shit, especially in the groups when people ask questions. Do you not see the third function of the blah, blah, blah? You might have answered that same thing 1,000 times. But guess what that means? That was 1,000 new people that started in the hobby. And if you can't take the time to help those people, then you shouldn't be there to begin with in that group. And if you're not having context being put in those groups, then what are they there for to begin with? Just so you can brag and put pictures of how great your shit is? I don't understand it. It's disheartening. But with the tragedies that are going on in the world today, we don't need that on top of everything else in our hobby, people. Be better, be a better person. I'm not that great of a person. I argue with people a lot. Like I said, I've been cleaning house, but for other reasons. Just because I found out some people were just shitbags that I thought were okay. And it's just mind-boggling. Like I said, we're in this hobby for fun, enjoyment, happiness, and building each other up. And I'd like to see the hobby go back to that. Because Jerry, in one of his old videos, he alluded to that. We're going to cover that now. Jerry made a mention in one video, I'm pretty sure it was Jerry, said that, like that pre-seated, I'm not going to say the whole word, because you know where I'm going with this when everybody was on lockdown. And a lot of people, I think, branched out to get their mind off of things and hobby wise. I know I got a few friends that dove into the hobby crawler side pretty good when that was going on, and it things I noticed, like people came together a little more. We got this big division. It should never be blue and red. Stupid ass political bullshit. That means nothing in the long run. No matter who you are, what color your skin is, how short or fat or skinny or tall, you cut yourself, everybody bleeds the same color red. And the world needs to come back to realizing that. And we're all stuck on this giant spinning rock together in the universe. And we need to stop bashing each other in the head and start holding each other up a little more. I wish the world would do that. You know, a lot of us old guys, the world's always been evil and wicked. You're never gonna do away with that. But and the internet makes everybody more interconnected and weave together. So it's more at your fingertips every day, all day. You're inundated. I wish there was a way of turning it all off for like just a day. Because man, back in the old days, man, things were so much different. Wow. You were outside, you were having a great time, you were going to your friend's house. Man, we had video games and shit, but wow. I don't know. Is it a good thing? Comment down below what you guys think about, depending on what time period you come from. I love the internet, but sometimes, man, with all this AI stuff going on, wouldn't it be crazy if AI read some of this shit? If I was an AI and I read some of the shit that I see online, I'd be like, man, these sons of bitches, they're what's wrong with the world. It wouldn't take me very long as an AI, if they're supposed to be as smart as they are, to say, oh, be damned. They are the problem. Because it wouldn't take a very smart AI to figure that out. Wow. Kind of scary when you think about it. This is supposed to be an RC channel. So back to, I was talking about when Team Associated came out with that Jeep Cherokee. And I seen people losing their mind. Oh my God, it's got white axles underneath of it. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh. I'm like, can we not just be excited for a product company trying to innovate something? I don't know. Maybe it is old hat because, I guess they based it off. So I don't even know how they could base it off the old RG, the gold pan, whatever they were going with that. I don't. But same way I've seen the hate for that new Coyote, which, I don't hate Axial. I'm just not an Axial guy, like I said before. But it is nice to see new products either way. Same way with the Gigamon or Pokemon or Helamon or whatever the hell that thing was called, which wasn't for me. But it was still cool to see something. It's a little big, but it was still cool to see it. And I seen all the negativity about that. Why does everybody got to be so negative about everything? I mean, I'm not exactly the happiest person in the world, but wow. It just blows my mind. And everybody always comments on it, like, you're so angry. Man, evidently you don't go on friggin' Facebook very much, man, and see the bullshit that happens on there. Wow. Trust me, I'm not the angriest person you'll ever find. But yeah, comment down below what you think about all that. If you see it and you read it and you watch this video, comment down below. So same way with, I seen the thing about RC full drive, and somebody had something posted about. Of course, they come out with the new Yoda 2 V2 axle. about them improving it and blah blah this and that and everything. My buddy and I, we'll call him Big D, like that. We've been going out beating the piss out of our Marlins. And we've been using them pretty hard. You guys don't see everything in them videos. I'm real hard on my Marlin lately, a lot. And man, my Yoda axles have been okay. I'm not ripping and tearing, snorting a line of coke, pounding 35 beers, and going out and ripping it like a lot of guys do, and they get bound up in rocks and they just rip and tear until something breaks. Of course, something's going to break, but it's been harder than usual on my scale trucks, especially the Marlin, because that's what I'm building it for. Still haven't really broke a leaf spring or broken axle. XVDs are holding up okay. Got some miles on her, so I still can't get the hate. I don't know. Just odd in the hobby. And I just feel like social media compounds that on top and on top and on top, and this person and this person and that person. It's a caveman mentality, a little bit like we de-evolved or something. And I don't even believe in evolution, but I'm not getting into that. I'm sure I'll get some flame for that too. Because trust me, if evolution is true, we're definitely de-evolving. We're not evolving. Technologically, we might be evolving, but mentally, we are not. We are failing. We are definitely humanizing. We are definitely dehumanizing for sure. So anybody that watches this video, message in it would be, instead of just instantly trying to tear somebody down, if you're in one of these groups and they ask for help, just take a minute and pause and think for a second before you just immediately go to responding, and try maybe to be a little kinder to people, especially in these times that we have, because we're all in it together. You may not see it that way, but we are. That is until we get life on Mars. And then maybe some people can leave, I hope. But, yeah, I don't know. So what do you guys think? Drop a comment down below. I'm trying to open channels with viewers, subscribers, whatever anymore. Maybe before you go on somebody else's channel and you take immediate offense to something, think about it first. And that goes for anything, not just the RC hobby, just anything in general. And think about your actions and the consequences before you make that and drop that. We're all guilty of it in this world. Don't act like you're not. I'm just as guilty as anybody else. I don't do it much anymore. And I try to think through before I make a comment, especially hobby related, to try to help people out. And do yourself a favor. If you watch this video and you've watched it this long, and you're in the RC hobby, and you have a product, just go on, open your laptop or your phone and search that brand of vehicle. Find some smaller channels. I guarantee you somebody out there can give you some good ideas if you're willing to put the time in to actually watch content and learn, instead of just going to Facebook and asking and getting a bazillion different answers that probably 65% of them are going to be garbage. Or somebody making a comment, just send it to me. God, that's so annoying. Morons. Told myself no ranting in this video. So yeah, do yourself a favor. Think about it. Research it. Look it up. I guarantee you those smaller channels, you're going to get an answer back from most of them, because they're more truly helping people. These big channels that are inundated with constant comments, nonstop, I kind of see where they come from too. And they probably don't even want to open a comment section half the time in their channel with some of the comments that I read in there. So I kind of see where they come from too in a certain kind of aspect. But I'm not afraid to recommend like a cheaper tire setup. You know what I mean? Like the Klingon from Injora and S5 and some Injora inserts that work really, really well together. $45 for tires and inserts, and you got a hell of a setup. I got a lot of hate for that too. But there's a lot of good channels out there. It's got a lot of good information in it, folks. Neo RC, man, he's got budget stuff. He's got higher end stuff. There's a lot of channels out there. I'd love to see a lot more folks go out there and show love to. Stay Small's got some awesome weathering videos on his YouTube channel where he did some the smaller scale stuff. It's really cool. You can learn a lot from watching these smaller guys in this community than just going to the big dogs. Not that I'm hating on the big dogs. I've got go-to channels when RC Everyday does actual crawler stuff. The low rider, the hot rod stuff, the rat rod stuff's not my bag, baby. But if it's yours, that's awesome, and I'm not hating on it at all. It's all awesome and great. For me, I want to put my money into something that I'm going to enjoy going out and using. Wouldn't say I wouldn't enjoy building something like that, but it's just going to be a stationary model. So I'm not putting the time and the money because I want to go out and use my projects and have fun with them and see what I can do with them. And I got nowhere to run anything like that here anyways. But, those guys like RC Everyday, RC Review, a lot of them, are not RC Everyday, but like a lot of and I still like RC Review. I don't get into the pushing stuff. The latest and greatest stuff. I don't mind watching it. I've cut back on a lot of that because I get so sick and tired of that pushing stuff in your face, selling stuff. And that's why I try to stay away from that here. If I get something and I like it, I make sure I can, put out there that, this is my opinion on it. But not to go out there and just buy it. You got to buy it. You got to buy it. It's the greatest thing in the world. You have to make it, like I said, once again, if I do that, it's going to be something that's really budget and affordable that I think is worth you spending your hard-earned money on, especially in today's times. And that's how I run this channel. With that being said, I'm not real sure. We'll see how this one goes. With the channel, I may just be sticking to doing running vids here on out. I don't know. I know even ExoCage kind of hinted towards he was seeing drop-offs on his channel. And like I said, I think that's kind of cues to where maybe the hobby's going a little bit, And I think there's only a certain amount, because you have people that are in the hobby, and then you have people that really I eat, sleep, and breathe the hobby because I love it, and it gives me an escape. And I'm down here wrenching and I'm figuring out things to improve things, especially with the leaf truck. That's why I love the leaf truck so much, because you're just tweaking little bits here and there and getting just this iota of a little bit more performance out of this. And That's why I love the scale stuff more, because the performance stuff is slap these good shocks, these awesome I mean, there's a lot easier with those than it is the leaf stuff. Uh, that's why I love the scale leafer so much. And it gives you got to pay more attention to what you're doing and picking your line and not overpowering your way through it. Like you're using, a precision cutting instrument instead of just blunt force trauma to get yourself through that goal, of whatever you're doing on this climb, this rock pass, this V groove, this ledge, blah, 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 blah. And that's what I love about the scale stuff, because it slows you down and you get to enjoy it a lot more. Man, it's just so much more fun to me. Whereas a TRX4 or, comp truck up here and stuff, you can kind of use them as a blunt force weapon on the rock course, and you just powder your way through. And you don't got to worry about tearing stuff up as much. But that's why I always say the leafers will make you a better driver, because they will. But and that's one more thing I wanted to cover with that too, is like the cost. I see a lot of people make the comments about, because I've had people make the comments about, because I have a lot of RC four-wheel drive stuff, and other stuff's not cheap, but when you really look at the big cost of it, so you can get yourself like an RC four-wheel drive Marlin, which is still kind of the topper echelon of performance right out of the bag for their stuff. They got the better leaves on them and whatnot from the factory. $499.99. You can get discount coupons on a lot of RPP, and I think A-Main as well. And you can get those trucks sometimes for like under $500 shipped to your door. And I start seeing the prices of like Axios 10.3 CJ7s and stuff like that. And I see people make comments about like, yeah, you probably are getting a little more capability, performance right out of the box with that stuff, but scale wise, no. It blows my mind. There's not really that big of a price difference. I see people making those comments. I'm like, no, there's not. I think a high trail right now is like over $500 some dollars at the hobby shop. I don't know what they are online. But you're getting so much more with a scale truck like that. And I'm not trying to sell anybody on any kind of scale truck. The boom stuff's kind of on its own. If you consider an RC four-wheel drive a Ferrari or Lamborghini, boom racing's like the Bugatti. And I love the axles in the boom trucks, but I didn't care for much else on it when I built that kit for my buddy Jeremy. I like the boom, and if they were priced more in the RC four-wheel drive, I would have some booms here. But their body stuff that they make, I'm not a Land Rover or Range Rover or any of that British type stuff guy. I want Toyota, Chevy, Blazers. Everybody keeps beating the Jeep stuff over the head, bitching and complaining and whining. More Jeeps, more Jeeps. Well, look in the one-to-one world. Toyota and Jeep, baby. What do you expect? I'd love to see Dodge Ram Chargers and stuff, but, there's a lot of Jeep guys and Toyota guys in the world, okay? You gotta look at the big picture. Also the licensing stuff. And still, as of yet, still the old technology. Tamiya, Tamiya, whatever. That YJ is still the peak of Jeep right there. Hard body, scale-wise, in my opinion. There's a few other companies out there making some stuff. You got that company that's a bunch of letters and numbers. Jerry has that CJ7. I was looking at getting one of them. That's a linked. I don't even know if that company is still making stuff. They made a pretty nice, it wasn't an actual CJ7. When I mean 1/10 scale. The Michigan's not 1/10 scale. Because I know my buddy Randy always gets turned on me saying that. None of the scales are scale accurate. Well, No, but you can put yourself in a certain category and be close. When I say 110, I'm talking. I consider the RC four-wheel drive stuff true 1/10 scale size scale stuff to me. I like everything to match in that aspect of it. And I have a Michigan and I love it. Doesn't mean I don't love the Michigan because I really enjoy wheeling that truck. It's a fun scale truck. It's just big. Uh, Same way if they're Willys. It's an awesome rig. It's just big. Because a real Willys 1/10 scale would be teeny tiny. More like probably that cheap one, like Adventure Time RC had on his. When you really look at the true scale of everything. A lot of people get pissy when I say that, but it is what it is. I'm just putting in people that speak the truth usually get is the first nail sticking up that gets hammered. But yeah, uh, same way with the RC four drive Blazers. They're probably a little small scale compared to the others, but that doesn't bother me that much because I'd rather have a little bit smaller than some gigantic, huge thing sitting in my scale garage with my other scale trucks. That's me. I totally derailed and my ADD kicked in. This is just being real and talking here, real talk. Uh, yeah. So, like I said, see how this video goes before I diversify the paths of the channel here. Because I've gotten a lot of shit. Just sadly, just talking. I didn't foresee a lot of that to come down on the channel. You know, people are very odd. Just because they don't align with what you see, how the like that. It's kind of sad. I don't agree with a lot of Mr. Canyon. He seems arrogant sometimes. I love his tire testing videos, and the man's a plethora of knowledge. And that's goes back to me saying knowledge is power. It doesn't matter whether it's RC hobby, life in general, fixing your washing machine, which I just got through doing. It doesn't matter in life in general. The knowledge is power. It really is a true statement. So even if there's, I don't agree, we can agree to disagree, and I can move on with that in life. I can still watch his content because you learn as you watch the content, and you can pick out and throw away and just ignore it. It is what it is. That's a powerful statement. More people need to learn that. In life in general, it is what it is. It's going to be what's going to be. But you can still watch that content and you can learn. There's several channels like that I watch for knowledge, and I can learn. That's why I don't get into the big flashy, I got this free, they sent me this, blah, 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 blah. Unless they're going out and using it. And I can't even say if they're really like one of them loud, obnoxious channels, I just can't do it. Just abrasive personality, it goes against I just can't watch it. I've tried. When I was doing the podcast sometimes with WV, and I try to sit through some of those videos, and I just, man, it was rough. Because I would just try to gain general knowledge of, their channels and all that stuff, and man, just kind of, that's like matches and gasoline with me. I can only take it in small increments. It was like nails on a chalkboard. That's why I love that mine's IRC, laid back, cool, relaxed. I like that. I pull into a car lot, even if I'm looking to buy a vehicle, man, I don't want that salesman right in my face trying to tell me how great they are. 10 to 1, I've already researched it a good bit before I go there. So I know pretty much in hand what, if he's full of shit or not. Most of the time they're full of shit. Uh, that's how I look at a lot of those trying to sell me what they got for something for nothing. Uh, I take that with a grain of salt. Uh, I watched a lot of Scorpion Man. He's got a YouTube channel on here. He had a lot of. He got me interested in the Night Runner. His videos would draw me in because I've been researching the Night Runner a lot. Uh, I think maybe RC Dad. Maybe I think might be his YouTube channel. I think he's more of a comp guy, but he's got some cool stuff on there. I was watching some of his stuff the other day. Just watching for knowledge, even if it's stuff that I'm not really into. The comp stuff is hard for me to watch because I don't get into that chopped up stuff. It's not my bag, baby. If you get that reference, yeah, baby. But a lot of it, if people, but like I said, some people, it's just where you're at, wherever you're at in the hobby. But yeah, I think some people maybe just enjoy the camaraderie. I don't know. Comment down below what you think. Try to get some comments going back. Like I said, depends where the channel's going, which direction I'm steering it. Most of this stuff may just go away. And a lot of the how-to stuff, I don't know. May just be going to doing trail footage videos and stuff like that. It's mainly just me and my two RC brothers out here right now. Have been going out because a lot of the other guys here haven't really been doing much with the hobby. Like I said, revert back into, everything else in life takes priority over your hobby. God, family, and all that first. I may offend people, I don't care. I'm not changing who I am and what I'm about to keep other people happy. A lot of these other bigger channels might compromise, but I will not. And stay steadfast, and stay the course. That's what I say. And people will drop off that don't support you in the long run. Same as in life. And so I got a few more videos I got to edit and drop. So we got a few more videos I got to edit and drop. I've got some more parts coming in for the HGP 407 build. I'm trying to get on the paint on the body on that before the weather goes bad here, because it's starting to cool down and be about right low humidity for painting. So I need to build me another paint booth. My paint booth got destroyed, but so I can get that done, and that project will be buttoned up. I don't really have any other than updating the Marlin for more performance-oriented crawling. So I'll be looking at probably starting another project for the winter. That's where I was looking at the Night Runner or that Bronco from RGT. I haven't decided yet. I don't care about views, so I don't care, what one would get more views, because that's not how I run my channel. The love for me and the hobby is what I focus on my channel. But how things go for the next little bit are definitely going to tell me which direction I need to go with the channel, whether it primarily be just trail stuff or continuing doing these types of videos. I don't know. Just because these types of videos are not accepted very well for some reason on my channel. Not saying that I don't got a good group of subscribers, because I don't want people to misinterpret that whatsoever. Because I have a great bunch of subscribers or viewers or whatever they are. But, I want to steer it in the direction it needs to go for the channel. And then that'll tell me whether I need to keep doing it or call it and not do it. Because I don't want it to stagnate and feel goofy doing it. But sorry if this video was kind of somber and just talking. Just kind of wanted to do it and put it out there and see what we get and see where we go from there. I know it's a long video, but I haven't done one for a while, and there was a lot of stuff that I wanted to cover. So, like I said, we'll get the P407. I'm hoping to get it buttoned up before winter. Fingers crossed. I don't know. It's taking me forever because time is just really hard because I work a lot and I've got a lot going on. And I'm getting old and I'm getting fatter and I'm getting grouchier. But, yeah, I don't know. We'll see how everything goes. You guys, drop a comment down. I don't see comments very often anymore. I mean, my homies, Kevin and Leon and Chris and, Mind's Eye. I see him dropping comments. I think I've seen some people that I haven't seen drop comments. That's not what this video is for that I'm putting out there. And let's all unify with one another and show a little more love to each other and be more graceful in the RC community, especially. I'd love to see that. I primarily stick to my own Facebook page. I don't branch out anymore. We started the 304 RC group. I think maybe some people got kind of aggravated because I left that. Just because abandonment type shit, because we started it as a group and it was supposed to be us local guys, and I noticed like they just dropped off and I wasn't taking care of all that by myself. Jeffrey, he's been running a lot of that. He's one of the admins in there. I left that, just because a lot of the guys dropped off, and I just felt that I wasn't putting a ton more effort into it, just being a sole person providing this in that group, because it was supposed to be a collective effort with everybody. So I'm not in the 304 RC group any longer. We're still the 304 RC here because that's where we're at. But yeah, that's why if people question, I've not been in there. I'm just really turnt on social media, especially Facebook right now. I'm going through and cleaning and blocking and deleting and removing trash from my Facebook. Once maybe I get all that figured out and the trash taken out, I'll move on back into some of that stuff. I don't know. But I gotta filter stuff before I get back into too much more of that. So, yeah, just a call to, man, show a little hospitality instead of hostility to one another, and hopefully Exo Cage is 100% right and I'm wrong, that the hobby will blow up and get huge, even bigger than what it is now. But I don't know, man. I'm seeing a lot of stuff drop off, like I was saying with that UGRC and the infighting with conglomerates and everything, and I don't know. The world seems to run on negativity right now, and it's alarming and disturbing and disheartening a little bit. And I'm not trying to be negative here, like Johnny Cash said, he wore black because, he'd wear collars on his back. He wore black because that's how he perceived the world. And some of us just see the world in, unfortunately, a negative kind of outlook sometimes. And it's hard to get yourself drug up out of that with constant battle and struggle. And people don't take that into account. Russ, brother, Russell, I appreciate you. I like talking to you back and forth on Messenger. He's one steadfast homie. He's a RC brother right there. It's nice talking to you back and forth. Jerry, whenever we get time to interact. my buddy Fred. I hope you're doing well, brother. I don't know how much you're watching because I know you got a lot of health stuff going on. You know, prayers for you. I hope you get well. I hope you can get the help that you need. I really mean that wholeheartedly. And I try to talk to you, brother, as often as I can. Uh, you know, I'm always running my balls to the walls. And I try to get as much time as I can to keep up with you, man, to make sure you're okay. But, yeah, anyhow, hopefully we can get ourselves up out of this and people can finally get maybe coming together uh, in general and especially in the RC community. So I think I've got some chicks watching. It's probably because I'm so beautiful. I've got the mind's eye beard going on now. So, anyways, from the RC Dungeon, ladies and gentlemen, my RC peeps in general, thank you guys for still hanging in there. Hopefully, people watch this video and they don't take too much offense to what I said. So, from the RC Dungeon, as always, peace and well being. Spread the unity and love instead of hate and separation. We don't have to be here and here. We can be here. Much love, peeps. Peace.